All right, everybody, welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel and welcome to December. Yeah, didn't really do a whole lot with the channel in November. I'm gonna tell you a little bit why, maybe a little bit later in the video, but for now, figured I'd give you guys an update. What's going on in the shop, what we've been working on, what's been happening. Saw some rumors that we were done, like shop was in trouble, blah, blah, blah. It's not. Just been busy and some other stuff, but you know. So if you watched or have paid much attention to the last Cletus and Cars event, we did have a pretty good weekend there. So won the streetcar shootout thing, which was our last video. Won Burnout Rivals. Got us a cool belt for that. So that all was pretty good. But let's jump into the video and then I'll walk you around, show you some of the other projects we got going on and get you guys caught back up. All right, so first thing we'll show you, the roll cage is all done for the C5 Corvette. Been kind of chipping away at this thing here and there. Got the cage over to the powder coater and took them a little longer than we were thinking on getting all that done. But she's all back. One of our tabs did get bent for where the roof bolts on, so we got to fix that. And Drew's going to be welding that in today, I believe, but looks pretty awesome all back in there. Got the seat mounts all done, the firewall is all done. Firewall was all Eddie's deal, so we eliminated all of the composite firewall because that's what the owner wanted. That took some time. See, we tied all the way up to our anchor for the cage goes around the factory subframe bolts. This gets cut out. This was just to hold these apart so that they landed back in the same exact spot since those legs were kind of sticking out, you know. So should be trucking along on that. Get the firewall. You can actually see it bolts in across all the way down the bottom here, so we're not going to weld that firewall to that. But the Capri Mustang has been on and off of the dyno a couple of times. You know, sometimes with some projects you find things that prevent you from finishing them, and stuff that wasn't expected. The first thing we did, we had a clutch problem. So it turned out to be the slave cylinder inside the transmission, inside the bell housing, was not shimmed far enough forward. So it had too large of a gap between the slave cylinder and the clutch fingers, so it would not fully release the clutch. Obviously that's a problem when you can't shift gears. So got that fixed. And then it had a fuel pump on it. You can see it's a Holley 12-1800 fuel pump. And it's a two pump. And the way it was wired, and the way I prefer to wire them, is you have one that you run on, and then when you floor it, it turns the second one on. So that way you're not heating up the fuel and all that other stuff. Well, the owner had mounted it, and I will say that Holley could be a little more specific on their instructions here. So the owner had mounted it sideways like this, and it actually had the single inlet deal there, kind of like you can see what's on there. We just got a single inlet. Well, when it's turned sideways like this, you know, if this is the top and there's an inlet here, there's no way to get the air out of the top up here. And so, like fumes, gasoline fumes, especially newer fuels that have a little bit of ethanol in them, dries out the plastics and stuff when there's air and it's not, you know, submerged in fuel. So one side of the pump didn't work. So we started making some power, got up, I think, close to 700 wheel, and the fuel pressure started falling rapidly. So obviously it can't make any power while that's happening. So we took it back off because I've got another car back there, we'll show you in just a second, that came in. That's another, you know, customer build. Came in and it had some problems on the dyno, so Ended up having to go back and forth, swap cars around, move stuff around, all kinds of fun stuff. So you may recognize this car from being the one back on the lift back in the, the back shop. Starting kind of a build on it. It's gonna be, I think, a little bit longer of a project. I'm not 100% sure. The way we work down here, you start a project with us with a deposit, the deposit runs out, the work stops unless you give us another deposit. So got to keep up with all of the deposits and the work that's being done on the car, or we got to move on to something else. It's just how business works, which is also why the poor Cutlass is still sitting there. But got a little bit of something to tell you about the Cutlass here in just a few minutes, as well as something that is here for the Cutlass. Okay, yeah, there it is. That I'm excited about. And I got to stop making excuses why I'm not working on it, because the things that I was waiting for, I'm no longer waiting for. So anyways, this car here has been sitting for a long time. Long enough that the bushings got dried out and crusty and were falling apart. So we're machining new bushings for the upper and lower control arms. You can tell that's also an LS engine, so it's getting an LS in it. Going to be kind of a mild single turbo deal to start with, hopefully somewhere like 1200 horsepower. It's kind of the initial goal. Kind of see how things play out. Obviously, we've got a few different combinations that can do that. Probably just do a stock block, stock crank 5.3, kind of like what used to be in the lawn dart. But get this guy kind of set up in there and get him going fast. It's kind of another father-son project, so we'll be along for the ride with that one. And we had to cut off the old motor plate mounts, because this car had a big block Chevrolet in it. Reused the mid plate. Got our mock-up Power Glide and stuff in it. And unfortunately, we're going to have to build some headers for this thing, which, when you can buy an off-the-shelf header, it's really nice. But the problem with this car is the cheap headers, like what we used on Mullet, what we used on Soccer Mom, the Lawn Dart, all that stuff, they run into the frame rails, the steering shaft, all that stuff, because there's just not room like there is in those cars. The frame rails are narrower than even a factory car. They're narrower in on each side. So that's a problem for using the cheaper headers. Now, I don't like to have the headers going up, because it gets in the way of getting under the valve covers and you burn spark plug wires. And yeah, we could mount the coils down on the frame rail, but this is, like I said, more of a budget project. So we're not going to be doing a complete wiring harness. We're going to use a factory Holley harness. Going to try and do everything, kind of as cheaply as we can to start with, and give them something that they can enjoy and grow into without having a $100,000 race car right off the bat. Now, we build $100,000 race cars. Kind of like it's part of the game down here. We build all kinds of stuff, whatever the budget allows for the customer. But, we also, there's going to be some decent expense involved anytime you're building any kind of complete project like this. I mean, we've got to build an engine, source of transmission, torque converter, all the fuel injection stuff, the turbo system, cooling system, intercooler system. Yeah, we've got a lot to do. And when there's a lot to do, there's a lot of money involved. But yeah, let's go show you what's going on in the back. It's nice when cars come apart. It's just all kinds of fun. So we've got, I don't think we've showed this at all yet. This is the front end for Spencer's Camaro over there, which we will be back on fairly soon here. And I'm not going to make sick week with that one. Had some problems in the timeline of the build, and it's going to be something where we just aren't going to make sick week. Like something gets delayed, a critical component gets delayed, and the timeline has to get shifted accordingly. Now, it's just the way things go. So here's the trunk, spoiler off of the Nova over there. This is something I built years ago. This is like 10 years ago, Kevin, work. It's just 10 years ago stuff I did. So here's what I'm playing with back on the Dyno. And, you know, kind of cool little deal. It's got a 427 small block Ford in it, a stroker, you know, 351 based engine. And I don't know if the problem is here, but got this thing, it came in, it was running really bad, you know, fresh Holley Sniper install. And what I typically see with a lot of customer installed stuff, especially guys that have been doing stuff for a long time, you kind of get set in your ways. Now, I'm older myself, and you know, understand that when you do something one way for a long time and it works for you, it's the way you want to keep doing things. Well, with the modern fuel injection stuff, all the way down to the, you know, really basic sniper stuff, you got to wire them right. And the thing that I don't know why everybody doesn't do this, the main power and ground from these or any fuel injection system, doesn't matter the brand, should go right to the battery. The battery acts as a big filter. It absorbs voltage spikes. It absorbs a lot of the electrical noise, which allows the fuel injection system to operate more properly. Because you got to think about this computer that is now running your engine is monitoring engine RPM, coolant temperature, manifold pressure, air temperature, all that stuff. And if there's noise in any of those signal wires or those signal traces, it's not a wire. If the wires pick up any kind of noise and that noise doesn't get filtered out, those changes in the signals make it run not very well. So, you know, somebody brings one into us, hey, it's not running great, this system's a piece of junk, blah, blah, blah. Every single system that has been brought to us, we have found problems and we have fixed them. So, and it's not a part problem so much as installation error. This system had a fuel pressure regulator installed on the firewall. Well, there's a fuel pressure regulator right there. So it didn't need to do that. So we ended up redoing his fuel system to plumb it properly, put a fuel pressure gauge on it so we could monitor the fuel pressure. Because the next thing we did is we loaded it up on the dyno. I went through and cleaned the tune out, got a good base tune on it. And I guess it's not here. Started driving it, getting some basic tuning done. Had it really happy. Crank up was nice, driving was nice, but as soon as I would floor it, fuel pressure would drop, like, and all this is fresh, all this brand new build, everything looked okay. So we start the process of diagnosing and chasing things. Well, somebody had left a rag in the fuel tank, not us, because we didn't build this thing. So there was a rag in the fuel tank, and it was not so much of a restriction that it would cause a problem at idle and at light cruising where you're barely using any fuel, but when you went to wide open, it did not deliver enough fuel, and fuel pressure was dropping to like 3, supposed to be 60. So obviously that didn't work too good. So now that's all fixed. Made some pulls yesterday. You can kind of see on the graph, we're up to 408's been the best, 408.7, which for this lightweight little short wheelbase thing is plenty, at least in my opinion. And all I'm gonna do today is work on the really cold start stuff because it's like 45 degrees here this morning. So we'll get that worked on, hopefully get it out of here, get it on its way back to its owner. He has a car show he wants to go through this weekend, which works out really well because we weren't quite sure when we were on the dyno yesterday and it was acting silly, we thought we were gonna have to change where the fuel pump was, because the fuel pump that they mounted is underneath the tank, and I was thinking we were gonna have to put it inside the tank, like I kind of prefer to do with fuel injection cars. But, you know, that's, I think we might be on track to get this one done today, which is awesome. Get that out of here. See, we moved some stuff around over here. It's actually Tad's 68 Camaro, I think. Yeah, I think 68. No vent windows. I don't know. There's subtleties to each of the years of first gen Camaro. So that's got a standard small block Chevrolet in it, which we're going to be putting a Holley Terminator EFI kit on it, hopefully pretty soon here. One of the throttle body systems that's not a Sniper. It's a Terminator throttle body system, which I'm kind of excited to be doing that. It's a new one we haven't used yet. The burnout car's hiding down there under the lift. Gonna get it cleaned back up. We do want to do the tread cutters on it, so hopefully it stops blowing tires and the shrapnel gets to tearing up the body. Because down at Cletus and Cars, talked to the Project Prime guys, I think we're gonna have this thing wrapped. I think we're gonna have it wrapped. So one major project that's left on it is, you can see right here in this corner, underneath the header and stuff, is where the ABS system used to be. So we want to do other stuff with this car besides burnout stuff. We're going to go take it to the drag strip. We're going to go take it to the local little road race track where like Grant tests the Miatas. But we need to relocate the ABS to inside of the car, because the header, I want to be able to access the header and stuff down there. So we got to reinstall the ABS system. Like right now the car again has no brakes in the back. You guys know how that worked out for me last time. It was great until I went circle track racing, but just not gonna do that anymore. But yeah, so that's one of our projects. Obviously not kind of a big rush on that. Just because it works for the burnout stuff. That's the next couple of events we've got for it. Because I actually do want to spend some time on my Cutlass here pretty soon. Almost fell. But speaking of the Cutlass, we'll talk about that and then get this video wrapped up. But the first piece of the puzzle that's really exciting for me is in this bag right here. That is my Turbo 400 Super Trick Whiz Bang transmission. Just got it in last week. Had it on order for a little while. All the parts shortages from the COVID stuff have affected all kinds of the supply chain, even into like, you know, hard parts, not just, you guys have probably heard about the huge chip shortage that messed up the auto industry for a while. And well, even hard parts were a problem. So this has a custom gear set in it. It's I think a 184 first gear, like a 136 second gear, 1-to-1 third gear. It's got 3 internal dumps. Got 2 dumps right there, actually. So 2 external dumps, and then I believe another internal dump, and then trans brake, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. So got that, and also my engine is done, pretty much. But the problem is it's in New York. And as you guys will find out when I go into more detail on it, a lot of the parts of the engine are kind of rare. Now, it's probably not my smartest move to build the engine that I'm building to try and get the power that I'm trying to get. I'm building a small block Oldsmobile engine for the car. Well, I have had a small block Oldsmobile already built. The block is pretty rare. The cylinder heads are pretty rare. Everything is unique about this engine. So, and some of these pieces took years to get. So I don't want to ship it. So that means I'm going to take my happy little self and drive to New York to pick up my engine. Be a nice little road trip. But that's all I'm going to tell you about the Cutlass for now, because we do have a bunch of work to do And before too long, it's going to look like this, where the floor is completely cut out. Now, we're not going to 4-link the car other than what's already there factory-wise, but anyways. So where did I go last month on YouTube? I kind of let on a little bit, maybe in the last video that had a little bit of a curveball in my personal life. Unfortunately, that's how things go. And without going into too much detail about the situation and what happened and all that other stuff, basically, I invested 2.5 years into into a relationship that didn't care as much for me as I cared about them. And no matter what I did to try and show that, it wasn't enough. So, had me a little pity party. After that was the realization that it was really done. Missed some YouTubing. But we're done with all that now. It's time to get back to work. Back on YouTube. I actually have several videos stacked up where I filmed a little bit, like we re-engined or remotored the lawn dart. So there's some videos for that, some of the things we went through to change and get that thing put back together. The rebuild of the new Lexus, which I guess I haven't really showed too much about the new Lexus, but what we did with the old car, how bad the red car was torn up, the original burnout car. So we've got some stuff to do there, some stuff to show you guys. So they kept at it in the shop, got a bunch of stuff done, but now I'm back all the time. And got something else to tell you guys about in the next video that's kind of exciting, because this video I've already rambled on long enough. Some of you guys don't like that, but that's where we are. That's where I'm at. We're here. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. Appreciate everybody watching, following along, subscribing, hanging in there when we disappeared. All the encouraging messages and stuff like that a lot of you sent, checking up on me. I get that a lot of you, you plug into us here on YouTube and follow along with us, and feel like you kind of become a part of our lives, and that's the truth. We meet you guys at events and kind of get to know some of you a little bit, and it's cool. So anyways, I got to get back to work. It's almost time for everybody to get here. It's right before 8:30. So, time for me to get back to work. Thanks again for watching. See you guys next time.